Hey guys, I'm just here with Patrick Campbell from Price Intelligently. We're going to have a bit of a chat about pricing in SaaS, so we can learn a bit more about that today. It's good to meet you, Patrick.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be here.
So tell me a little bit about Price Intelligently and what the background of your story is.
So my background's in econometrics and math. So when I got out of school, I actually worked in the U.S. Intel community. So I was an Intel analyst. And it was, it was fascinating, but it was, it's the government, so it's super bureaucratic. And, we can get into all the Snowden stuff and all that kind of stuff, which is, a big conversation. But I went to Google then in Boston, and that's how I got to Boston, and was doing value modeling, which is basically the same stuff I was doing at the NSA, but it was, taking a bunch of data and then targeting something. At the NSA, targeting, a bad person, and Google targeting money, basically. And so I've always been fascinated with how do you measure value in particular, where when you're in a real estate market, there's a lot of data, so you can figure out market value, right? Yeah. But when you're building a SaaS company, and there's a lot of stuff between that leap that I just made, but when you're building a SaaS company, value is really hard to figure out because and Dan and I have had this debate because A/B testing is something that's really complicated to do for a B2B SaaS company because we don't have enough traffic to do a multivariate test on your pricing. And so the more direct route was I went and I wasn't a big fan of the bureaucracy at Google just because I was making them a lot of money, and it wasn't the money, it was more like they were just like, we're not going to work on that project. And so that was tough. Because I, being someone who wanted to build essentially. And then I ended up going to a small company called Gemvara, which was like a Blue Nile competitor. I don't know if you remember Blue Nile. No, yeah. Customizable high-end jewelry. Oh, yeah. Like average ACV of about $1,000. Yeah. You go on the site and you can pick your gemstones or whatever. But they had 1.6 million different SKUs, and we would make these little changes to price, and it would either crater the revenue that we'd gain, or it would massive increases. Right. So that's where it started to connect this whole, I want to understand value. And then also I linked up with, a couple of, co-founders who, were basically part-time advisors more so than anything. And one of them's the head of product at HubSpot. Mm-hmm. And his whole thing was just we build this stuff and we put so much time into it, we have no idea what the value is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's valuable, but you don't know, is it $100, is it $1 million, is it $1,000, what is it? Mm-hmm. And so we basically set out to solve that problem of measuring value. Mm-hmm. And that evolved into this, so we're fully bootstrapped, we're about 40 people in Boston, and it's just because we had pure software, then we added tech-enabled service, so just you don't use our software, we'll use it for you kind of stuff. Yeah. And that made our ACVs go really high, which allowed us to fund the business. Yep. And then we wanted to get back to more pure software. Yep. And also we saw the greater vision of if we're going to be successful with a low number of companies that are actually subscription companies, we need to go real deep into LTV on them. Yep. And that's a multi-product strategy. And so we launched ProfitWell as a free subscription financial product. And then now we have a number of different products, including the pricing side.
And so, if I'm, at what stage does a founder realize they have a problem? Because when you're early stage, you kind of just, you A/B test, you go and try and sell as much as you can, like you guys did. You said, how do we bundle something that we can sell for heaps and work down the scale?
I think what's really interesting is that it's kind of like the pet insurance market. The pet insurance market didn't exist 5-10 years ago. Yep. It's one of those things, but as soon as you're and I just got a dog less than a year ago, and I'm all of a sudden someone's oh yeah, you need pet insurance. And you're yeah, okay, yeah, I need this. In reality, you didn't need it 10 years ago, and maybe you don't need it now. But I think, so what I'm saying is that it's actually a, when we educate founders on the power of pricing, and also we're in this effect where we have the data that shows this, where the value of features is actually declining globally. Right. And so people are feeling the pain, then looking for growth opportunities, finding, pricing as a growth lever. And but it's a lot easier, and that's why we started ProfitWell, because when we see your data or apply our algorithms to your data, it's really easy for us to say, hey, you have this clear problem, and we have this solution for that clear problem. And
Tell me through a use
kinda
case of that. So like,
yeah.
I'm a SaaS company that sells $200 a month subscriptions, and
so you have a $200 subscription, and let's say your ARPA or ARPU is $157 or something, $150. We basically, let's say you hook up ProfitWell and you're a $3 million business a year. We can basically, one, you get all your subscription financial metrics. So when you're reporting your MRR, your churn, all that kind of stuff, it's completely accurate.
Yeah.
But then we basically can report to you and say, we have a little pricing grader that's free. And it's like, hey, your ARPU's here. Other companies in your cohort, it's here. So you're either doing really bad or really good, or right on mark. And then we can show you like, okay, the reason you're off is because you're not localizing your pricing. When you localize your pricing, it's this. You get these gains, or your proportion of your monthlies and annuals is off. Like there's all these like markers essentially with price. The other obvious one is we have this churn product, and we basically can say like, hey, your delinquent churn is X. If you turn this on based on our AI, you're going to get it to Y, or X minus Y, I should say. Wow. So that's a little more of an obvious like product than the pricing one, but yeah, that's just kind of how it works.
And how, like, is it kind of like plug in a few data points, set up a link to Google Analytics? Like, what's the onboarding process for it?
You just integrate your billing system. So
right.
It takes about 5 minutes.
Right.
Max. Stripe takes like 30 seconds, but
right.
Zora probably takes a little longer just because you have to, deal with a big enterprise product. So, yeah, it works pretty easily. And then the pricing, if you go through it's more like a project, like. And like SiteMinder and Enserata are customers of ours, and we do research every month, so they're kind of on like an annual term. But then all the other products are just kind of pure, you just flip it on and it does its job basically. So yeah.
Interesting.